What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Do you really want to? Do you really want to taste it? We are back with Peacemaker. We have made peace with the fact that this was not going to be returning for 3 years, and it's finally here. And season 2, episode 1 has dropped, and we are here to break everything down on the episode today to talk all the exciting spoilers, reveals, some shocking things, some not so shocking things. We're going to break it all down, then we're going to give you guys our theories at the end of this video on what we think will happen next. So uh I am not alone on this. I am proud to be joined by Ari Papermaster. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm ready to talk about this. There's not a ton to talk about it, but there's certainly some interesting things to talk about. I think the most interesting thing happens before the episode even starts.
Yeah. The most interesting thing happens in the recap. So let's kind of I guess we can kind of break it down scene by scene. So that works to talk about that first.
Yeah, I would just start with that. I would just dive right into that. So, yeah, the recap starts. It says previously on the DCU, and so you're like, oh does that mean wait does that mean what I think it means? And then 5 seconds later you're like, uh what? It does mean that? So yeah, I guess season one has been retconned and the Justice League never showed up. I wonder if they're gonna do a thing where they're gonna delete that version of the episode from streaming completely and put in the new version. I wonder if do you think they're gonna do that?
I think they could either do that or have like an alternate version of the
Yeah, but
episode.
but do you think they're gonna do that? Do you really think James Gunn is gonna make the previous version still be on there?
I mean, he is friends with Snyder, so I don't know, but I
Sure.
I don't I
Uh,
it's a good point. We
okay,
are
okay, okay. Tristan's here. Let's ask him what he thinks. We were taught. We're on. We're starting with the big thing and the recap. And I asked Michael, do you think do you think James Gunn is gonna do a thing where they just remove that original version and put this in, and you can't even watch that except for like pirating or whatever?
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think James Gunn's cooking a little bit with this multiverse thing in the opening sequence. I think he's playing with us a little bit, and I think that we're gonna figure out through the course of this season that the DCU did happen, but it's within one of those like many doors of his multiverse.
Really?
And I think he's gonna make that DCU canon, but what we see going
Really
forward will be the
interesting.
canon of this previously on. What we saw in the DCU or this scene and that scene are a little bit different. And not hugely different, but like these characters are there that weren't there before.
But there's no real way to explain that happened in season one, but then now it didn't, other
I
than
mean,
just retconning.
it seems like it's just a retcon. That's
yeah.
what
Yeah,
it seems like it is. And
Yeah.
yeah.
retcons happen a lot in comic books, and that's going to be James Gunn's go-to defense for this. I'm sure over the next
Ugh.
year is going to be like, oh, look, it happened this time and that time in comics. It happens all the time, and that's true. It does happen, but every time it happens, people react negatively to it. And I think that's to be expected. James Gunn didn't do this and think that everyone was going to embrace it with open arms and say, oh, it was the best idea ever, and
Yeah.
there's no bumps in the road. Like, I think James Gunn knows that there's bumps in the road, and he brought this on with something in mind. Whether it's literally making it canon or whether it's making it soft canon, something like that. I don't think it's a coincidence that he introduced that change in the same exact episode where he starts exploring the multiverse very directly. So I think we might see something along that line.
I think that the thing is, he knew exactly what he was doing, and he knew exactly how people would react and how he would anger the Snyder fans. But angering Snyder fans is kind of just at this point that's inevitable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Just
very
the
curious
the
how he
moment
commits
James
to
Gunn
this.
was signed up, Snyder fans were going to be pissed. So, yeah.
And it's interesting also to me that Supergirl is there. We didn't really get a context of how involved Supergirl is with like the super community, and like is she part of the super gang, that kind of thing. And it looks like, at least from what this is showing us, that she is at least in some level part of the Justice Gang, or like she at least worked with them in some missions here and there or something, which is not what I expected to see at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Okay, so we talked about anything else in the recap specifically to talk about?
Just the fact that season 1 is canon, the fact that this is which makes me wonder if he is just going to make the Suicide Squad just be a canon film now.
Well, I think this implies that.
Yeah, so I think that this definitely implies that he's just going to be making that canon to his DCU.
As of right now, it very much seems like the Suicide Squad is canonically the first thing in the DCU timeline.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to have to add now to my DCU ranking. I'm going to have to add the Suicide Squad, I guess.
Yeah, unless something else happens in this season that makes it seem like it's not the case, but I don't see that happening as of right now. As of right now, it looks like the Suicide Squad is in the DCU, which you can get away with it because that movie doesn't like mention Ben Affleck's Batman or anything.
Yeah.
I think we also have to think about the fact that in the comic books, after Crisis on Infinite Earths happens, and the continuity all kind of switches to this new universe, which is very much what they kind of based this shift on a little bit. Like Peacemaker is a character in the new continuity who can remember the old continuity, and he kind of has this like almost schizophrenic break where he remembers a reality that's different from his own, and all the other characters don't remember it. And I got a sense from this episode that it was a similar vibe. Like Peacemaker is going through this episode with this sense that something is off, something is not right about his life. People are here who are supposed to be dead. It has this very surreal vibe to it. And I think part of it might be that Peacemaker ultimately realizes that not only is it weird that his brother and his father are alive, but it's also kind of weird that the Justice League is different than he remembers them being. And Superman looks kind of different than he remembered Superman looking before. So I could see there being a bit where Peacemaker remembers the DCEU prior to the shift, but the DCU as we know it now doesn't. Nobody else does but him.
That would be really cool if they did that.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. In terms of continuing on talking about what else happened this episode, right after the recap, we ended up getting the actual main theme song, which, as we all expected, it was going to be another dance number, but this time they switched it up and they didn't have the one that we love, the do you really want to taste it? And they didn't have the whole dancing there. They had it to some other song this time. What did y'all think of the change up? Did y'all like this kind of new intro that they did? Or
it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Nowhere near as great as the season 1 intro, but it was fun. I think maybe the dancing was an improvement, but the song itself, no, not as fun.
I wish they would have changed it up even a little bit more. Like they changed up the dancing and the song a bit, but the set and the lighting is all like basically the same vibe and stuff. That would have been fun to see them really go for like a new swing and have a totally new look and feel to the song and to the dance number. But it's almost like a similar performance, a similar song, a very similar vibe to the intro. I was expecting to be like a much bigger swing, some sort of along the lines of like how The Wire has like the same song but by totally different artists each season, and like the total vibe is completely different on each intro. That feels like something that might have happened here, but didn't go that way.
Did you purposefully mention The Wire because Perry White is in The Wire?
I didn't think about that, but maybe it was a Freudian slip.
Well, I look forward to that because I'm on season 1 of The Wire right now. So,
yeah. So
in terms of, so we had all that, then the rest of this episode, like what happens next is just kind of catching up with the characters. You have Peacemaker. He meets basically the Justice Gang or whatever inside their facility,
Oh yeah, let's talk about that scene.
Yeah.
Did you guys think the scene was fun? Did you think it was funny?
I did not think it was particularly funny. It was a good setup for a bit, but I don't think the bit actually ended up paying off or being very funny. It's
Yeah.
like I was waiting for a big punchline or something really funny or really unexpected for him to hear, and it was just kind of a bunch of like really base insults and like screwball humor, really like simple James Gunn kind of jokes. It did not
Yeah.
really hit for me.
And I like James Gunn humor. Maybe even love it, but I was just like dead silent for me. It was not really not funny. And I really enjoyed Guy Gardner in Superman. Thought he was consistently really funny in that. But this was just like, oh, the joke is that he can hear them. Wow. Hilarious. Like, not. And then the joke that Peacemaker was just gone. I didn't even think that was particularly that funny either. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
I think it
I
was an
agree with that.
interesting parallel to the other interview scene. Hardcore's getting interviewed, flunking her
Yeah.
interview also in very different ways, but they're both failing to get to what they want to be at, But I didn't
The
necessarily,
hardcore was actually funny and actually a good scene.
yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny scene compared to the Justice Society I keep wanting to call them a Justice Society, but that's not what they're being called yet. They're still the Justice Gang right now.
not yet.
Which so this takes
They
place
will be.
this is taking place after the events of Superman, right?
That's what it seems like.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I was curious as to why, if they had the Justice Gang in here, then why wasn't Mr. Terrific there with them then? And
I believe he was.
I didn't. I don't remember seeing
Was
him.
he?
I don't remember seeing him in the interrogation room or whatever.
Yeah.
It was
Not
Oh, in
see
Child's
that
him
room? I
there.
thought you were talking about the flashback sequence. No, he's not in that room. He's not in the interrogation room. No.
Yeah.
but well, the flashbacks. Are you talking about like the opening recap or?
Yeah. Because he's in that shot, but he's not in the interrogation scene. No.
Yeah. In that shot, he's in there, but yeah, in the actual like episode, not just like the recap on what happened in season 1, but yeah, the actual episode, he wasn't in there, and then so wasn't Metamorpho. He wasn't in there either, and he kind of is like part of the Justice Gang now. So I find
Maybe they didn't want to have to pay to put him in all that prosthetics just for like 5 minutes.
maybe. I mean, I know that they're gonna. I assume that they are gonna have a big DC character, but we'll save it for predictions. But I do assume that they're gonna have like Mr. Terrific and other people.
Yeah, I almost feel like Mr. Terrific is too big of a character to put in this scene. You want to save him for like a bigger moment, like a reveal or an action sequence or something like that.
Yeah, I can see. I can.
I'm really curious how much we see of these characters. Like, is this the only scene we get of Hawk Girl for the whole season, or are we going to see them kind of throughout the story?
Yeah, it does leave you wondering because there's just there's so much they want to do with these characters, but also this is primarily focused on Peacemaker's story. And speaking of Peacemaker's story, he is really depressed. He's down out of luck in this episode. He is just completely hating himself for all the past trauma, killing Rick Flag, all these other things in his life, and you just see how it's gotten to him. And there's this wild scene where he's getting high, and they did their own hero-gasm from The Boys, basically. Just had an all-out orgy happening, which is insane. And then he's just there, super depressed, and he just walks into this room, and the next thing you know, he's like transported to another dimension that is basically like his world, almost exactly. And I found this interesting because you see his dad is still alive in this world. You see his brother is still alive in this world. It's sort of like an alternate reality of what would have happened if things went another route, another direction.
My my question is the dad still Hitler here?
It's hard to tell because they're living like this life of luxury, right? Like they have this really nice house, and like
Yeah.
in the previous version of these characters' lives, they were living essentially like trailer park lives, right? They didn't seem to really have a lot going on for themselves financially or anything like that. But in this universe, they're living like right wing luxury. You know, they have like that big Florida home essentially. You know, and I'm really curious to explore that reality more and see what is different. Is it only the fact that his brother is alive? Is that the only thing that changes this reality? And that's the one like butterfly effect that makes this entire thing different? That could be interesting to explore, but I'm curious to see how much of that they explore here because it seems like they're absolutely going to be coming back to this reality like throughout this season.
Yeah.
It's not just like a bit for this one episode. It's going to be like essentially the plot for this whole season is going to be revolving around like these two parallel realities and Peacemaker having to choose between these two different lives. So I'm really excited to see that play out.
Yeah, the promo or whatever for the rest of the season basically implies that like the running thing of this season, the running plot is gonna be he's trying to live the life that he didn't get to live and the struggle of that and so I'm really excited to see where that goes. That's interesting to me. They're already doing multiverse and they're in their like third thing. Meanwhile, Marvel's in like their 78th thing, and they can't even make one interesting multiverse thing.
I really want to not breeze past though that party sequence where he's walking through just like this giant orgy full of like every form of nudity, you know, male nudity, female nudity, androgynous nudity. And James Gunn mentioned before this season premiered, like, oh, I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure people know this is like not for kids. You know, this is kind of a mature DCU. It's not for everybody, and this is how he did it. I guess right from the very beginning, he's like, here we are. Here's Cox. You know, full on Cox shots in the DCU and part 3 of the DCU, just full on Cox.
And I gotta give him credit. And I gotta give him credit for actually having like a man kissing Peacemaker. Like that is not something that I was sure he was gonna. You know, was he gonna be afraid to piss off homophobes? But
well, there was also not only was there stuff like that, but there was like girls kissing in the orgy. There's guys
there were. Yeah, you did
kissing,
see men kissing.
ones,
So
like,
gotta give James Gunn some actual credit for not being a coward.
Yeah, especially on HBO, very much loves to show off female nudity and parade the female body around and stuff like that a lot. And it's criticized for that in some regards on a lot of other shows, but it's, I think, a good thing that this episode went out of its way to not just show women naked and glorify the female form like that. It's showing all bodies naked. There's this like very prominent shot of a naked man and full frontal nudity. It feels very intentionally so to subvert that idea that it's all about the female body, and we can add some male body too. Show me some hot male chests. I want to see that
Yeah.
too.
And like Game of Thrones did show Cox, but they didn't. There wasn't like a ton of like. Well, I think you did see men kissing.
And like you would see male nudity in Game of Thrones, but it was rarely in like a sexual way. It was usually just like a clinical way or like a violent way. This is they're showing male nudity in like a very sexualized way, and I think that was a very cool moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's a lot like Hero-gasm, sort of. Like I think people are gonna kind of compare it to that whenever you look at this show. Like that's the comparison I would make to it.
I also thought it was very BoJack Horseman, especially like the intro to BoJack Horseman, where he's going through this party life, but he's in a complete daze, doesn't know where he's at, and everybody around him is having a good time, but he is just kind of there. And I felt definitely like there was some BoJack influence on that scene.
Yeah, I think I definitely could see some BoJack influence. I could see some other influences from other shows and movies as well in this episode. But yeah, while I really, really liked that and respected that, I think also just leading up to first off, what's that guy? What's the character's name? The one with the glasses? what's his name?
Economos?
Economos. That is it. Yeah, so Economos, him lying to Rick Flag Sr., basically saying like outright, like, oh yeah, he's, here in the orgy, he's doing this and that. And it's like, is that gonna bite him in the ass later? Like, I don't know, maybe Rick Flag Sr. will find out, because I know Rick Flag Sr. has a vendetta against Peacemaker right now, so
Yeah, and he seems to be getting kind of radicalized. We saw a scene in this where he's watching what was like the equivalent of this universe's Fox News, and they have the same news anchor who was in Superman reprises his role for a second in this. So we're starting to see Rick Flag go down this route where he began his arc here is pretty sympathetic to like the meta-human cause, and it seems like over the course of these few movies and shows, he's going to become more and more anti-meta-human and more radicalized towards violence. And I wonder if they're going to go for a metaphor towards the current political statement and, prejudices and like setting out ice to round up metahumans and things like that. I wonder how direct they're going to go with that type of stuff, because it seemed like in Superman, James Gunn was not afraid to make political statements. So I wonder if they're going to go for a political statement with that and lean heavily into the ice parallel here.
Yeah. And I guess we can continue talking about the Peacemaker stuff, but I also still want to talk about Hard Court in this episode.
Oh yeah, let's not move over there too quickly though, because I don't want to abandon Peacemaker. I want to go back to that multiverse scene where he goes in and sees like this perfect life and perfect world. After that party scene, there's some interesting notes I wanted to write down, because you see some shots of newspaper clippings, and I wanted to write down what those newspapers say, and I was wondering if they gave us any information about like what's going on in this version of the DC universe. It doesn't really give us a lot, but it does give us some interesting information in terms of like what heroes might exist in this reality. The first one you see here is Top Trio defeats the Rainbow Creature, which are very, very, very like deep cut characters. I didn't know who the Rainbow Creature was, but I looked it up, and it was like this obscure Batman villain from one single issue in 1960 that fought Batman and Robin. It was literally a giant walking creature that was rainbow colored and like shot rainbow beams out of its mouth, like exactly what you would think when you hear Rainbow Creature.
It's
so
also
that was pretty funny to see.
It's also notable that they reference imps several times throughout this episode. After season 1, straight up reference Batmite. So I feel like a Batmite appearance in the DCU is inevitable and will definitely happen.
I'm wondering what he means when he says top trio too, because that's not anything I've heard of. And we heard top trio was mentioned like multiple times in these headlines, because they had the top trio defeating Rainbow Creature, and there was also a mention that the top trio saved Gotham and stuff like that.
It would be fun.
So top trio seems to be like a super group within this universe.
Yeah,
Maybe it's like their Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman type of thing or something like that. I wonder if we'll see them.
It would be fun if it wasn't Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. If it was more like Golden Age, like maybe it's the Flash, but it's like Jay Garrick, and maybe it's Batman, but it's like a different Batman, and maybe it's like Superboy or something.
And there was another headline as well mentioning that the Sons of Liberty strikes again. So the Sons of Liberty, who got established in Creature Commandos, are still around in Peacemaker Season 2. So there's a little bit of continuity there if you're looking for your DC EU connections.
Nice. Yeah. So that's pretty cool that, it's all that you can kind of connect those dots there and make a bigger thing over. But yeah, I did want to talk about the actual Peacemaker story arc, because I think it's, first off, John Cena did a phenomenal job this episode, like acting in it, everything. I thought he did a really good job. You really see like an emotional side to him in this, because in this world, his brother is alive, which is pretty crazy. And his dad is alive. And so he has no idea what to even say. His brother mentions his ex, and he's like saying, huh? He's like, are you still talking to your ex? And he's like, he's like, why are you being so weird? And then you find out that the ex is Hardcourt, that apparently they had a
You
thing going
mean
on.
you mean
Huh?
no, I know. I just want to say it's hardcore, not hardcore.
Oh, same difference. But Hardcore is his ex, in at least in this universe, which I found kind of interesting. And then, of course, Peacemaker finds Peacemaker, and they start fighting with each other, and it gets really bloody, really brutal. He throws like ninja stars at his back and is like slicing his back up. It gets pretty gnarly for sure. And I thought the actual action scene was cool, but I also just loved the emotion here. I'm curious where they go with it to see. Just like I was surprised that they killed off the Peacemaker this early. I thought that
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
I thought that version of Peacemaker, I thought he was going to be around, and it was going to be a situation of like the other gang kind of being confused, like, well, like, which Peacemaker are you, because like, which one should we trust, which one's our Peacemaker that we are friends with, and all that. And I thought it could have been an interesting way to explore things, but they just kill him off outright. So I don't know, what do y'all think of it?
I'm really excited to explore this guy more, and he looks similar to me to the Kingdom Come, not like a totally like that, but like a halfway version of the Kingdom Come version of Peacemaker, who had a jetpack and almost looked like the Rocketeer or like Boba Fett a little bit, where he had like the armor over his face and stuff like that. So it seemed like they were at least like slightly drawing from that look for the character. But I am shocked they killed him off so early. I'm expecting to see more of him, or at least explore his world a little bit more. I'm sure we're going to see his life through the eyes of our Peacemaker and learn more about this guy. But I think it's interesting that this world seems so perfect on Peacemaker's eyes right now. Like, everything is perfect. His brother is back. His dad is back. He's got everything he could possibly want. But yet this version of Peacemaker is like very prone to violence. Like, as soon as he saw this other Peacemaker, he immediately tried to kill him. And I wonder what that says about this version of reality, that this version of Peacemaker is like instantaneously like, I'm going to kill you, and there's not even a thought to talk it out. So I wonder if that's a hint that this world he sees as perfect is not actually very perfect, and he's going to start seeing that there's a lot of flaws to what he thinks is the perfect version of himself.
Yeah, I could see Peacemaker wanting to basically just stay in this world, because and kind of say, well, hey, I could make a life here. My brother's here, my father's here, and my father's not an asshole.
Well, that's what he'll want at first, but will he want that after he maybe finds out it's not so great? Maybe there's some things that are worse here.
Yeah, that's what I think he's going to figure out. And I think maybe by opening this up and him going there, that maybe he's going to cause some huge thing to happen in his universe now. Maybe
Yeah,
big will happen there.
maybe this is what makes, Doctor Doom, come out and go after the Avengers and everything.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know
this
about
is
that.
what starts Doomsday. Can you imagine the opening scene of Doomsday is, do you really want to taste it? That's if Marvel and DC were actually good, they do that. Avengers versus Justice League. Well, we'll get it one day. James Gunn's hinted at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what's the next scene we should talk about?
I want to talk about that bar fight. That was a pretty gnarly bar fight.
That was a lot of fun.
The hardcore scene, yeah, I thought that was really fun, seeing her just wreck shop.
Do you think they named her Hardcore just so they could have that scene where she's hardcore, and so they could make that pun?
The show is very punny already with like the episode titles, so it's kind of fun to have a punny name like that for a character.
That was pretty. I mean, there's the one in season 1, but this was on another level. This was very violent.
I was really impressed too, because people are accusing this show of nepotism, and I think, of course, there is like the fact that his wife is the lead of the show is it's not only because of her acting talent. Like surely the relationship with James Gunn is what got her at least in consideration, and that's. But I think in this scene, it almost feels like her intentionally showing off or like proving herself as an actress. You know, like she's not just James Gunn's wife. She can do an incredible action sequence that's like out of a movie that is so fucking cool. And I think she really honestly is great in the show. And I think, you can say, oh, she got in there because of this reason or that reason. But like over the course of last season and this episode, I'm really, really liking this character. And I think that her performance is a big reason for why I'm like really just enjoying the show as much as I am.
Yeah, season 1, I remember I think she honestly was like a top 2, top 3 character for me. I really like her a lot. I thought that it was funny hearing her say that she's got toxic masculinity and her making the kind of joke of like, are you kidding me? Like I have a vagina. I don't have how am I like toxic masculinity? And then she's just like, then you see kind of the anger come out of her.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that great line
Yeah.
I love that great line where she just goes, "I have a vagina."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I wonder how much this show is going to get into that, because it is a joke and it is kind of like a throwaway scene here, but masculinity seems to be a big theme of Peacemaker, and like his relationship with his father and his brother seem to be exploring masculinity a lot. And I'm really curious when they explore the relationship more between his living brother and living father. What seems right now to be a form of like really positive masculinity may reveal itself to not be so positive. And I wonder if that's going to be an arc over the course of this, where he's realizing the toxicity of that relationship, and what seems to be, bros just hanging out being dudes might end up being something a little more sinister than he thought it was.
Yeah. And another character we can talk about on this episode that we haven't mentioned is my favorite character of the whole show, but he didn't really have a lot to do in this episode, but Vigilante. He basically was just there. He's now working at like a restaurant.
Well, yeah, I think it's the same restaurant from season 1.
Yeah, he's still working at the same restaurant, and you kind of see him having an argument with his boss, and he's on the phone with economists, and they're having that kind of back and forth, and it was a fun scene, but yeah, we didn't really get to see much from him in this episode, and but I do look forward to what they do with him next.
Yeah, it felt like just a reminder of like, oh yeah, don't forget that this character is still here. He's still part of the team, and that's fine. For the first episode of the season, you have a couple of characters like that who are here just for like a second, because you got to remind them that they're here too. This is definitely going to be hardcore in Chris's episode, but they got to remember that the supporting cast is still hanging out here.
Yeah, I agree. And then is there any other kind of characters y'all want to talk about, or any scenes y'all want to?
We didn't really get much at all from Adebayo. They casually referenced that her wife just kicked her out because she his life been thrown apart because of what happened at the end of season 1. She did.
It's a bummer because she gets like the happy ending at the end of the first season. She's reunited with her wife. The dogs run in. Everything is good. I guess not anymore.
Yeah. So she kicked her out because she did a good thing.
I guess
I could see that bringing quite a lot of negative attention to your life. And it seems like she's not been able to find a job or anything like that. So I could see that wearing your relationship down pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, she didn't literally kick her out because she kicked her out because of what that did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not much from her in this episode, but no, we did not see Viola Davis in this episode. Do you think she'll show up soon?
I think when she shows up, it'll be a pretty grand event, because that will be her first appearance in this form of the universe, right? We haven't seen her in the DCU. We don't totally know that she exists necessarily yet. Like we do in a meta sense, but like we don't know that yet from the context of what we've seen. So I'm hoping that when she shows up, it's not just like, oh, here she is. I hope they give her some level of like a cool entrance, make her part of the plot somehow. And yeah, with her daughter involved, I'm sure it will only be a short time before she comes back into the story.
Yeah, because there's also the possibility that when we were talking about the recap earlier, like James Gunn, he can always change his mind and just say all of it's canon. But like I remember at one point he said that like, oh, parts of season 1 and parts of the Suicide Squad are
But at
canon.
the same time, they're doing a Waller show, and he made a comment last week that implied not only is it still happening, but it'll be live action now. So,
Oh.
yeah.
So, and I don't really see them recasting Waller, which is
No, he's
yeah.
not gonna.
Oh.
Nobody wants to watch. I'm not gonna watch an Amanda Waller show if they recast it with just some actress who's not Viola Davis.
Yeah. So you would have to, unless it's like you do a young Amanda Waller or something.
That wouldn't make sense.
Then no, yeah, it would be having Viola Davis in there and continuing her character, because if Peacemaker season 1 is canon, then I assume we are going to be getting Viola Davis popping back up again. Yeah, because she was in season 1. So,
if Peacemaker season 1 is canon, then that means the Suicide Squad is probably canon, which also means that she is Amanda Waller. So, I expect to see her show up at some point in this. I thought it was fun to see the Tucker Carlson guy show up for a minute at the beginning. That was pretty fun. He it seems like he's gonna be our go-to, like maybe it'd be fun if he's the guy who like cameos and everything, like Stan Lee.
Yeah, it seems like he's going to. I recognize his face. I think he's a comedian, but I don't know who he is. By the time he comes back next week, I'll look up his name and know what it is. But I don't know it right
He
now.
kind of has that like Tucker Carlson look, and he's got that perfect voice for that kind of character. He could be sort of throughout the MCU. Interestingly, throughout the early movies and then in the Netflix shows and maybe even Agents of Shield, there's a real news reporter who shows up throughout the MCU. And when I saw him show up in Daredevil, I'm like, wait, that's the guy from No Way Home and Far From Home. And I'm like, no, he was in this, and he was early on in the MCU. I'll have to look up his name, but it could be like that, except he's a fictional fun guy. I really like that guy in Superman. That was really funny, really fun to see this archetype of like Tucker Carlson. So it was fun that he showed up here. I hope to see him again in the future.
Did you guys recognize the actor playing Peacemaker's brother as Roy from The Office? I'm not sure I've seen him in anything for a very long time.
I did recognize him, but I haven't seen The Office. I wonder what I know him from.
Yeah, I did not realize that that was him from The Office, but I really liked seeing his brother in this episode, and I look forward to kind of seeing what they do, and if those characters can they, if Peacemaker's able to just open the door and go back into his own Earth, are we going to be able to see his dad who just died on Peacemaker's Earth? Is he going to like come back basically to that Earth now, because he's just literally right next door in this like parallel pocket dimension? Oh, and then same with like his brother, like could his brother
and interestingly, that guy was in Rebel Ridge with the new Green Lantern.
Oh, what a fun coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. You mentioned that we could maybe see other characters. I really would wonder how far they go with this multiverse thing, because they have I think they said like 99 doors in there. So I wonder how far they're going to go with bringing in cameos or bringing in other characters from other comics, or just like weird versions of the characters we know. I think it would be really fun to, there's all these questions about like how much of the Suicide Squad is canon, how much of this is canon. I would think it would be fun to see the Suicide Squad, or at least a handful of members of the Suicide Squad. Give us a flashback or see that team together. Bring back Joel Kinnaman. I think it could be really fun to see Chris make peace with the fact that he killed Rick Flag Sr. I feel like that's haunted him it's Rick Flag Jr. that's haunted him for so long. It could be a fun moment of closure to have him get a conversation with that character, even if it's a different version of that character, right? Like if we're seeing Chris explore this alternate reality, is he gonna show up and find the Suicide Squad? Is he gonna show up and find Rick Flag Jr. still alive? Is he gonna go and find the new Harley Quinn, the new Batman? How much of that is going to? I mean, we're probably not gonna see the new Batman in this show.
That'd be crazy.
Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man's still out there. That's what
That'd be crazy. He just opens a door and Robert Pattinson is just staring at him.
No. They're gonna have like a post-credit scene, and they're gonna build it up, and you're gonna see one of the doors open, and Milton is gonna walk out from.
That'd be hilarious.
From the Suicide Squad.
Free Milton.
I would love to see Polka Dot Man come back. We've seen Kite Man name dropped a couple of times. Show me a Kite Man, give me that. You've been teasing Kite Man. Give me a live action Kite Man.
Have Sean Gunn, Calendar Man, show up, and then he meets Maxwell Lord is walking through the room, and he opens the door, and then he sees Calendar Man. He's like, "What the hell?"
We need a Condiment Man too to show up here.
But he's like dead serious. We need Condiment Man in the Robert Pattinson movies. He's dead serious. The mustard and ketchup like incinerates your skin.
I think it would be really fun. I'm just really excited to see James Gunn explore the multiverse in some way. Like he mentioned that his favorite episodes to direct were the next two that he directs. I think it was like 6 and 8 or something like that. So I'm hoping that one of those two we get to see James Gunn just go unhinged and explore the multiverse with no regard. Show me monsters and creatures. James Gunn loves to dig deep on the DC wiki and pull out some crazy random character like the rainbow creature. So I want to see him have like an entire episode of like interdimensional Cable style jumping around through the multiverse and showing me whatever you got.
Yeah, and he said 6 and 8 are his favorite episodes, and notably 6 through 8 he did not give to critics.
Yeah, no, critics only got the first 5.
So
the screeners were the first 5 episodes.
He said in an interview that either means it's terrible or there's some stuff to spoil. So
I think it could be really fun and funny if James Gunn uses this season to just show up both Marvel and DC. Like, this is how you do multiverse and make it cool. Like, look, you can do it and it's not that hard actually. And where both of these studios have been flopping for the last 5 years trying to figure it out. James Gunn's going to come in with one season of just really fun, really ballsy, really adventurous multiverse to show us like this is what we could have been doing with your multiverse saga, but instead you were sitting around pulling cameos from 25 years ago to try and make people show up for the theater.
Yeah, and I, as a whole, am starting to become very sick of multiverse. I just think it's used in everything now, even movies that aren't DC or Marvel are starting to use multiverse as well. So I'm just like starting to get really tired of it, but I understand DC needs to do it at some point.
Yeah, for me, I'm not sick of the multiverse. I'm sick of it not being used properly and just being used as a gimmick. Like, if you think about it, the multiverse saga in Marvel really hasn't even begun, and now it's about to end. Like, you're sick. I think that you're actually sick of it because Marvel just didn't do anything interesting with it.
Yeah, I'm at a point where if you're not going to do anything with it, just move on. And it feels like that's where we're at. They're just kind of moving on. And I think it would be nice if Peacemaker goes down as one of the final entries in this multiverse era and ends up being maybe the best of them.
Yeah, I could see that scenario.
Next week is one that James Gunn did not direct. It's directed by Greg Mottola, who directed Superbad. He comes in to direct the next 2 episodes in a row.
Are we gonna see Jonah Hill cameo as Superman?
That would be pretty fun. Nice connection.
Jonah Hill, who did he voice in the Lego one?
Superman.
He voiced Superman? Okay, I thought that was like Channing Tatum that did or something.
No, I think Channing Tatum was It might be the reverse. But I think one of them was Superman and one of them was Batman. Yeah, but wouldn't that be fun if both of them? What if both of them don't show up in live action? They're both just Legos.
Dude,
you could see a Lego universe. You legitimately could go to the DC Lego universe.
That would be so much fun. And then like Mark Hamill's voicing Joker.
I'm just imagining it now where he legitimately just shows up the Flash and is like, here is an actual multiverse scene that's great.
Oh yeah. I mean, if do y'all have anything else to mention of the episode specifically, or do we want to get to predictions?
I'm ready for predictions. I feel like we covered the episode.
Yeah,
Unless there's
yeah,
anything else we
we
missed.
did everything.
Yeah. So talking about the multiverse and how crazy it is, like I I guess we can start off with predictions on characters we think could show up in here. It that could show up either towards the end of of the show or earlier in the show. I think obviously Mr. Terrific is the most likely. He's probably going to show back up again at some point for like some big action sequence or something like that. But I think that this is a show where you could introduce some of the other characters, like maybe have more Supergirl in there or something to lead into Supergirl, or they could even I could see this show doing this where like he goes to one of those like multiversal dimensions, and now like the Justice Gang has another group of annoying team in there that's like rivaling how annoying the Justice Gang is or something, and like the Teen Titans or something
Mm-hmm.
could like show up or something. I could see something along those lines, like as a huge surprise. Just like they feel like they're the type of right vibe for something like this. I could see something like that happening, or some of the other characters we mentioned.
For characters that can show up, I definitely think we're gonna get some Daily Planet character cameos at some point. I think it would be really fun to see Jimmy Olsen. I think it'd be fun to see Perry White. Those characters who seem to, like they're saying they want to do a Daily Planet TV show. So I think the characters that are more likely to appear in that Daily Planet show could show up here. And the way that some of these shows kind of like backdoor pilot the other shows, I could see an episode that like heavily leans on the Daily Planet characters for a bit, and later in next year or the year after, we see a show with those characters. I could see them showing up. You go ahead. What do you think? What do you say, Ari?
Is there now a rumor of a Daily Planet show? I've only heard of the Jimmy Olsen show that's rumored to be an anthology.
Yeah, I think I was talking about that show. The Daily Planet show and the Jimmy Olsen show ended up being like the same show. But
yeah. So Jimmy Olsen could show up. I could see Jimmy Olsen popping in there.
I definitely think it would be fun.
Or something.
Jimmy Olsen's really wholesome energy would be like such a fun contrast. Like I want to see Jimmy Olsen and Vigilante have a conversation. That would be a lot of fun. How would they play off each other?
And Jimmy Olsen is not crazy to show up in something like this because in the comics he's been everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It's not like just why is this reporter crossing over with Peacemaker? In the comics he's crossover with. You just look up the kind of storylines he's been involved with. So that would not be crazy to believe at all. Do you think we'll see? Do you think we could see Lex Luthor pop up at all?
That would be a great. I think so, but Nicholas Holt's very expensive. They spent a lot of money to get him on Superman, so I feel like it would also be a lot of money to get him on Peacemaker. But I could see it happening. I think maybe he's the least likely. Like I would even him and Cornsweat, I think are unlikely to show up, although not impossible. Like I wouldn't say either one of them is impossible, but I'd be pretty shocked if
what do
they did show up.
What do you predict in terms of like multiversal people to show up?
I think if anyone big is going to show up, I think the one opportunity to do is either Supergirl, because that's your next big movie is Supergirl, or you bring in one of the lanterns that are going to be in.
No! I meant like multiversal, like not from the DCU.
Oh,
it's the multiverse.
I do think this is a possibility because there was something online recently where I heard nothing was confirmed, but like someone asked James Gunn a question about like Margot Robbie coming back as Harley Quinn.
Well, he said you'll find out down the line.
Yeah, he said something. It's like you'll find out down the line. Well, what if that's like a hint towards what if she shows up in
But
the
if the Suicide
sort of
Squad
setting.
is canon, then that's not really multiversal because she's already here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's canon. I mean, I think it's multiversal. Like if we see Idris Elba show up, or some lines of like a version of the Suicide Squad shows up, I think that counts as multiversal.
I think as of right now, seems pretty likely.
Yeah. I think especially Idris Elba's Bloodsport would make even more sense probably than Harley Quinn because of the connection that he has with Peacemaker. But
Could we see anyone from the CW shows showing up as a cameo?
I wouldn't. Maybe not here.
nah, I wouldn't. Yeah, not here per se. I don't think so. But I could see them down the road though, maybe doing something like that, but not for like season 2. I don't think you do it this early. So
I think if you're going to see characters from the Suicide Squad show up, it's not going to be like they're part of the DCU now. I think it's going to be they're here for like a one and done kind of send off, or so, even if it's like a version of the Suicide Squad, but it's from a different universe. I think James Gunn can use this as a time to allow those characters to have one final goodbye. Even Margot Robbie, one final goodbye. Because when I look at the DCU right now, I don't really think there's a spot for the Suicide Squad. Like we are already pretty full. Like we don't need another team of characters. Also, I think if they were going to show up, it wouldn't be like they're back. It would be like they're here to say goodbye, right? So I think that might be the route they go. My prediction right now, a plot side prediction, is that top trio we mentioned, I think you also mentioned it, Michael, about like, are we going to see another version of like an asshole team in this other universe, some team that Peacemaker can't stand? I think that team he can't stand is going to be himself. He's going to find out that him, his brother, and his dad are just giant assholes. They're the top trio.
that could be the top trio. Yeah,
They're the top trio. He thinks they're heroes. He thinks, oh man, I'm part of the best team ever. He goes out on a mission with his dad and his brother. It turns out they're just like fascists. They go around and harass people. They go around and just kill minorities or something like that. They just do something really, really terrible. And it turns out that he's part of the asshole gang now. I think that could be a reveal. It could even be fun if like he shows up and he has to fight like that universe's version of the Suicide Squad is coming out to kill the top trio. And now he has to like fight different versions of the people he once worked alongside of. But I definitely think the top trio is going to be him, his brother, and his dad, and they're going to be giant assholes. They are the asshole team that he doesn't want to be part of in that universe.
It would not happen, but what if we saw Jared Leto's Joker on the Suicide Squad team?
I don't know about that.
They mentioned 30 Seconds to Mars in this episode.
Not positively, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not positive. Did you guys watch the after credit scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just really continued railing into 30 Seconds to Mars there.
And if you follow James Gunn on Twitter in the early 2000s, you know his feelings about Jared Leto are not positive. You can find those tweets if you want to look them up.
Yeah. So I think Jared Leto is going to be staying far, far away from this universe. But oh man, could you imagine having like vigilantes encounter some of these DC characters? Like imagine him and Harley Quinn together, and like them like just kind of getting drinks or something. Like I could just see that turning into complete chaos.
What do you think is like the biggest character they could reasonably get? Like, you've gone through all the Suicide Squads. Maybe we'll have this, maybe we'll have that character from the Suicide Squad. But like, does Henry Cavill show up here for a finale scene? Something like that? Does Jason Momoa's Aquaman show up for a final scene? Something like that? Is there any possibility of something of that scale happening? Like any final good handshake to the DCEU?
I don't think they would do that for a television show. I feel like if you're going to do a final handshake, like final goodbye to the DCEU, you would save that for a movie, like a big movie event or something where maybe I could see it. Like my dream thing is if they're doing multiverse, and I know that they said down the road they're looking at like possible like Teen Titans stuff in the future, and I'm like a big fan of that group, and I could see them doing something in like that movie where since they're teenagers, they royally fuck up the multiverse, and like Zack Snyder's DCEU people start coming in there, and it's like actually some big movie, like just
I don't
one
think that's
and
happening.
one and done with these type of characters or something. That's
not gonna happen.
not gonna happen, but I could see like that is more in the realm of possibility than just putting Henry Cavill in an episode of a TV show. I just don't.
I will say that I think this season of Peacemaker is the last time DC is gonna say the word multiverse for like 15 years. Like this is gonna be the end
That
of the
long?
multiverse, and they're not gonna like if this does well. They're not. Why would they ever do the multiverse if this does well? You only do the multiverse if you're doing poorly. Like the comic books doesn't do a crisis when they're doing well. Like they stick to their guns, and I think that James Gunn has to know the multiverse did not go over well. So why would he go back and do it again? And I think that this is going to be him doing it for one time to wrap things up at this moment where it's kind of chaotic and he has a lot of patchwork to do. But they're not going to go do a multiverse Teen Titans movie in 5 years, and they're not going to go do a multiversal Supergirl movie in 2 years. They're not going to do this again.
We are getting. I just wanted to say, Michael, we are getting. Teen Titans is not a long time away. Remember, and the woman who's writing Wonder Woman has been writing a Teen Titans script. Regardless of it happens, it is in development.
And Henry Cavill was on TV before. He has done TV roles, and I don't think it's beneath him to come back and do a TV show. I think especially if it's sold as like, here is your chance. You've kind of wanted to be the Superman of your dreams for so long. Let's give you like a scene to do that. I don't think it's likely, but I think there's some level of a possibility. And those 2 episodes James Gunn harped about being great. If they're going to explore the multiverse, maybe there is one moment where he's able to throw a love to Henry Cavill.
Also, the place his career is in, like, is he really going to say no to TV?
I mean, but also the way I look at it too is because it is a TV show, a TV show being a good way to advertise another TV show is kind of the route you'd want to go. So I think that you could see maybe Kyle Chandler show up, or even see the other Lantern, John Stewart. You could see him show up in there, and I like some of these. Since we have Guy Gardner, that would be a good opportunity to bring in those Lanterns.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them. To be honest, I think especially when we get towards the end of the show, Guy Gardner is surely going to do something towards like the finale, where I got to go off to this thing that I'm hearing about in the other city. I think that'll be something, even if it's just him saying, oh yeah, I'm going to go off and solve this other mystery that I've been hearing about, or if they're going to literally have one of those characters show up. I'm sure they're going to do some continuity there. It would be kind of a weird decision not to do that.
Yeah, it would be a very weird decision. I think they're the most likely for sure. And so in terms of other predictions, where do we see these characters all going kind of down the road? What do you think?
It seems like generally the plot of this season is going to be Peacemaker feels like he doesn't have a spot for himself in the DCU as it is. He's not accepted to the Justice Gang. He's not accepted to even his own friends. They're seeming like they don't really get along anymore or something like that. And he's going to switch and go live in this other universe and eventually realize it's not what he thinks it is. His dad's not who he thinks he is. His brother's not who he thinks he is. He doesn't like being here, and he can't go back. And we're going to end up following Harcourt and their gang having to come together and go rescue Peacemaker from this universe that he's stuck in. And meanwhile, we're going to see Peacemaker struggling with whatever he's struggling with in that universe, and the increasing chaos of him trying to hide this life and not be given away of him, being a fraud, essentially. And I'm really excited to see how long they play that out. I think it's very fun to see characters like having to pretend to be something they're not. When you watch Dexter, he's going around having to pretend to be like a normal person all the time, and you as the audience are kind of like laughing because you know that he's secretly not who he says he is. I think it would be very fun to have at least a few episodes of Peacemaker trying to run like the Dear Evan Hansen kind of snowball lie of one lie after another, trying to cover for the fact that he's actually a variant. It'll be fun to see that.
It's funny you mention that because Superman himself, David Cornsweet, was with Ben Platt in the series The Politician.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember
And
that.
they even made a Superman joke in that. Like, Dear Evan Hansen is like, you look like Superman. And that came out before he was Superman.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this is going to be Peacemaker trying to find himself. I think a lot of these characters are going to try it. It's going to be like self-discovery story for a lot of them, because I think for Hardcourt, it's going to be kind of a self-discovery kind of thing for her, because she's kind of doesn't know where she's at in her life, because just all this news she's finding out about her anger, and
Her
she's
toxic masculinity.
toxic masculinity, all this type of stuff. So I think that there's going to be something there. I think that there's going to be, you know, Peacemaker trying to move on and cope from the loss of his brother, and I feel like very much the reason why Rick Flag and the situation hurts him so much is it kind of reminds him of his brother's death a bit, and you see like the look on his face there. You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, it shows he hasn't changed. After all these years since he killed his brother, he is still ready to go beat Rick Flag to death. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see him talk to Rick Flag Sr. a little more and explore like that shared, anger there. And I'm sure there's a lot of like drama you can get into with Peacemaker interacting with the father of the person he killed and his own father issues and how they could resolve that within each other. I'm really excited to see that. And especially if we do get a Joel Kinnaman cameo or something, What does a Joel Kinnaman scene with Frank Grillo look like?
Yeah, I mean, I could easily see a flashback too. Like
Mm-hmm.
they easily could do a
I'd honestly
flashback.
prefer them meeting to a flashback.
Yeah, I could see something like that you see those two characters meet, and they see like maybe Frank Grillo's like being a father, because like that's the thing is when I was looking at the age there, I was like, man, Frank Grillo had Rick Flag when he was 18 years old. So like it was one of those very young kind of fathers, and it would be interesting to kind of have a Rick Flag senior episode down the road where you're just kind of exploring his life when he was younger, having Rick Flag, the hardships he went through, and then like really connecting to him being a father to his son, everything like that. I could see like that kind of, and it's an interesting parallel because I could see Rick Flag Sr. kind of in a way relating to Peacemaker's father because of the whole dichotomy of like, well, my own flesh and blood is gone forever now, and just having that like bent up kind of anger.
I think it's also interesting that Peacemaker's father was fully radicalized. He was literally the leader of essentially the Ku Klux Klan in this universe. And
Yeah.
Rick Flag Sr. is on his way there. He's like moving down the far right pipeline essentially. And I wonder if there's going to be some kind of commentary about like how far is too far? Can somebody turn back? Can someone correct their wrong beliefs and make up for that? I wonder if there's going to be some level of like wanting to interrupt this guy on his downward spiral so he doesn't end up being like my father. Recognizing that like if I leave this guy unchecked, he's gonna just end up becoming just like my father. And someone has to like prove this guy wrong. And maybe Peacemaker can be the one to do that.
Yeah, I think so. Do y'all have any other predictions that y'all want to mention going
Nothing
forward?
else. I'm very excited for next week. It's gonna be this. I really, really like this episode, and I think it took some really bold swings, and it throws you off in that first few minutes. And I think intentionally throws you for a loop, and you're like, that's not how I remember it, and that feels like such a huge retcon. But then once you settle in for the episode, I think it's a really, really strong return to Peacemaker. It's not the best episode of the series so far, but it's a pretty solid beginning to this season, and I'm sure it's going to ramp up from here. And I really can't wait to see how they explore that retcon and get more into what James Gunn's cooking, because he's cooking something. I can smell it from here. From the first 30 seconds before the even show started, I was like, oh, James is cooking. And I'm excited to see what he's got, because if we get to the end of this season and it's all just kind of nothing, I think we'll look at this episode differently. But I feel like this episode is laying the groundwork for a lot of really fun exploration in the rest of the season.
And I think because of the fact they haven't shown 6, 7, and 8 to critics, I think that that's a sign that there is something big to come later on, like the last 3 episodes, especially. So, yeah. Do you have any other final predictions, Ari, or no?
Nope. I think that's good.
Yeah, and I think that's a good kind of discussion that we had for today, guys. But we will be back next week talking about Peacemaker episode 2. And so we are following this show week to week. And this is not the only after show we have up on the channel now, because Tristan and I are also covering Alien Earth week to week. So we just did episode 3 up on the channel. You guys can check that out, and we're going to be doing episode 4 again whenever that comes out. So make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss that one. And then we're also going to be doing other after shows down the road. Like we have a Gen V one coming up that we're going to be doing for when Gen V, the boys spinoff, returns, and several other ones down the road. So
Dexter Resurrection is wrapping up. I'm going to do a season review of that. I didn't quite have the steam to do a week to week because I got onto it like a couple of weeks late, but I'm going to do a whole season review because that thing snuck up on me. You know, Dexter was in a lull, and then all of a sudden they had a banger. So I'm going to review what they brought for us in the second or maybe the third, depending on how you ask, revival of Dexter.
And it's like the third revival of Dexter. It's like 3 times the charm. It's like they finally get it right. Yeah, it's like,
I guess so.
It's like, geez. But yeah, so we're going to be doing that. And we have a lot of exciting plans that we are starting filming for in September, which is our October horror 31 days of October that we're doing. So you guys can stay tuned for that. That's also going to be a really, really fun series that we're going to start up for you guys very soon. So yeah, that's pretty much everything we have coming up, guys. Make sure that you like this video, that you subscribe, that you share, ring that notification bell so that you do not miss any of these after shows that we will be doing. We will see you all in the next one. And until then, stay classy, my friends, and keep on watching those television shows.
Eat peace.